jobs have you held in the past?
I had quite a few different jobs. So I'm right now the executive director for Dickinson County Conservation Board. Previous to that, I worked for the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Department of the Interior, as one of their science advisors. I was the director for the Iowa Department of Natural Resources for 4 years, from 2006 to 2010, under Governor Culver's administration. I've also worked different jobs for the Minnesota and Iowa DNR, National Park Service, U.S. Forest Service, a private nonprofit called the Iowa Environmental Council, so kind of a job hopper.
What kind of technological advances have been made recently to help the water?
So you've got advances in quite a few different aspects, like monitoring, so the ability to effectively and cheaply monitor nutrients and temperature and things like that with gauges that are in stream that can transmit to satellites and then download the information onto internet sites and things like that. In treatment, there's some of the classic treatments like the tertiary treatments, which is the finishing of the water. Many times will make water cleaner than the stream that it's running into. Some of the advancements are actually ecological. So, for example, Metro Waste Authority, which is the landfill in Des Moines, uses a series of wetlands with a specific suite of plants that does a great job at cleaning up leachate, the stuff that runs off a landfill. And you can imagine that that's pretty nasty stuff. By the time it gets to the last set of wetlands, it's cleaner than the water that it runs into, which is Camp Creek. Project Aware. Okay, Project Aware, where they spend a week on the water in canoes going down a river and cleaning it up, which is pretty cool. There's a lot of work you can do in your local communities, things like cleanups, so litter cleanups and things like that. If you want to go a little bit further, there are a lot of watershed groups out there, and they do a lot of work like with stream bank remediation, so taking stream banks that are eroding cliffs and leveling them off and planting them down with willow trees or different grasses or things like that. So there's quite a few different things you could do.
All right, how does your career affect water treatment and quality?
Quite a few different ways. So I've worked in Iowa to redo the water quality standards. The water treatment, they have to abide by certain limits of the water that goes back into the receiving water body, so a river or stream or something like that. And Iowa historically was quite a bit behind federal standards when it came to those water quality standards. So I worked with the Iowa Environmental Council and then again in the Iowa Department of Natural Resources to revise those water quality standards. That's technical mumbo jumbo. What we were really out is protecting recreational and aquatic life uses. So for recreation, you want certain levels of bacteria that are low so you don't get sick when you're swimming and get a mouthful of water, or the toxicity, the things like eye irritants and ear irritants and stuff like that. As far as aquatic life, very few of the water bodies in Iowa were protected before our move to water quality standards, where now most of the perennial water bodies are protected for fish and plants and aquatic invertebrates and everything like that. So that would be one of the major ways. Another big one I think that would be a good example is there are about 100,000 leaking septics across the state of Iowa. So people that live in rural areas or unincorporated cities, that there was no inspection program and no standards that they had to meet. And we passed a bill that was a point of sale inspection. So now when you sell a house in a rural area in Iowa, you have to